Well, why? What? Why are you not familiar? That's my homepage. All right. Wait. What? Wait. We should make. we we also. Is it 4, 5, 6? Okay. Wait. Okay. 7. Oh yeah, that's probably 27. No, not okay. Oh, so we'll clap as soon as that happens. Yeah. Oh, good. It just solo. Yeah, obviously. Okay. Nice round numbers, except for 5, but you know. Baller. Noise indeed. Oh wait. I just need 1 second. No, I'm recording. It's just the OBS one is not picking you guys up.
Oh.
So I should probably have that on. There. There we go. Now we should be able to hear your guys' beautiful voices. Oh wait, we're not. What's up with you? Oh wait, here we go. All right, now we can hear you, nerds.
I'm not a nerd. You're a nerd.
Man. Yeah, it probably should help if our redundancy actually picks you guys up.
I'm in danger.
I forgot to save the project before I started recording, which shouldn't matter, but you know.
It'll still recover if it crashes without that.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
Which is
I'm
nice.
not really worried about it.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
We gotta do the start of the podcast, or we could just not do the start of the podcast and continue to.
I'm thinking we're gonna do like a memento episode where we record
we'll
the end of the podcast first. We go in reverse.
Okay.
Man, that joke that was pretty good.
Oh wow. Okay, now the pressure's on us to make a good joke.
Yep.
All right, is everybody ready?
Yep.
All right. Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix, episode 91 on this October 12th, 2019. We are pleased to announce that the new Gaming Fix controller will have haptic feedback and will actually order you burritos with an AI assistant built in. It can sense your stomach growls and will automatically order burritos for you. Alex Galinas, what is your preferred burrito filling?
Envy.
Ooh.
Oh.
Allison, what do you like in your burrito?
I was just gonna say I like carnitas, but you know, not quite as funny there.
Pat.
2 words: sword logic.
Word.
It should guide everything you do, including your choice of burrito filling. Also, I was going to say that no matter what your opening thing was.
Is that like a sushi burrito? It's like
sure. It's well, technically, it's whatever burrito conquers the other burritos.
Okay.
with its strength and understanding of the sword logic.
Oh, so it's like that thing where you test which M&M is the ultimate M&M by crushing them together, but burrito.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Except because it's burrito, it probably has to do with poop somehow.
Now you're speaking my language.
I figured.
I want off this podcast.
Don't we all?
So I've been watching The Good Place. There's a lot more poop jokes in that than I expected.
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
I feel like I need to rewatch everything because I don't remember so much of it, even though I watched it like last year. And I've been waiting for the new season to finish before I dive into it. But
we've been playing Borderlands, and I mean, aside from like fuck a lot of stuff about Borderlands, but we did go through a quest last night that ended in creating the Killer Crapper, which was like a outhouse kind of situation, created from the like electro backpack of a bad guy that we killed that powers the Killer Crapper outside of Mad Moxie's bar.
Yeah, that's the place for it.
Y'all think they're gonna remake Conker's Bad Fur Day and The Great Mighty Pooh?
I hope not. That game's not good. Why do people think that game is good?
Hey, you're the one talking about Pooh. That's
not what makes
the
it
Great
bad.
Mighty Pooh.
Pooh jokes are funny.
It makes it good, and that's maybe you want it so you can.
That's what's impressive is that they managed to make a game with an enemy that is called like the Great Mighty Pooh or whatever, and the game is terrible.
It's because it was an N64 game. I never played I've never actually really played it, but
I played some of the Xbox one that they did. That was bad too. This game, Conker was good when it was on a handheld and it was a wholesome children's game.
Hell yeah, that Game Boy game is so good.
The Game Boy game is. I'm not kidding. This isn't a bit. The Game Boy game is very good.
It's very good.
Speaking of wholesome children's games, Alex. Alex has brought something to the table. The new mobile coldness. Disney Frozen Adventures.
I was gonna throw us into the murder game, but yeah.
No.
Yeah. There's a free release game that you can, I think, still get on Android. I don't know if you still can, but it is called Disney Frozen Adventures. It's a Disney licensed property. The massive Frozen brand from the Disney family of bullshit. And it's a game.
Yeah, that's.
Is it though?
Do you want to leave it there, or do you want to actually go into it?
You put it on the list. You tell me.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I was surprised to say that I actually have enjoyed my time with it and continue to play it.
Frozen is pretty good.
I liked Frozen when it came out because I saw it like opening week, and then it got so super saturated.
Sure, but it's pretty good. The core product is pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's a good movie. I think that I am cautiously optimistic for the sequel.
I played Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm pretty sure I got the full experience.
Yeah, kind of actually.
When I was working at Toys R Us, it was like not right when Frozen came out, maybe like a year later, 2 years later. Mm-hmm. And I was cleaning the store. It was like 2 a.m. It's like during the holiday season, so we were there late. Cleaning the store at 2 a.m. in the girls section, straightening shelves, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something like a person, and it freaked me out. Even though I knew there were other people in the store, but I was just like immediately spooked. And I look over, it was just like a life-size Elsa cardboard cutout.
It's funny. It's minor spoiler for Kingdom Hearts for anyone who's planning on playing it still, which is an audience of 0, which is why I'm going to say this. In the Frozen Kingdom Hearts world, one of the best parts of that game is when she just sings Let It Go, and it's just Let It Go from the movie, the scene, but Sora and Goofy and Donald are standing 10 feet away watching.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's really good.
I was like in tears, like rolling around on my couch laughing as that moment happened, because it's the whole song.
And they do a good job of making it look like the movie too. Yes, like it's synced up with everything you expect.
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. But this is not Kingdom Hearts.
No.
The gameplay the gameplay, well, the story for one thing is definitely not Kingdom Hearts. There's no none of that bullshit. But it's really straightforward in terms of story. You're basically, you're not anyone. You're just kind of a passive observer god creature that is watching the characters of Frozen interact and be like, oh, we're planning a party. I don't remember the reason why, but they're planning a party. So you're doing puzzles in order to kind of get currency to afford different party accoutrement. Like, oh, we want flowers. All right, you're going to do a puzzle and get 10 ice cubes or whatever the currency is. I forget.
Do the characters say the cold never bothered me anyway every single time you complete a puzzle?
There have been no direct references to
No
anything.
sale. That's unfortunate.
Which has actually been kind of nice. Though it's pretty great because like all the characters you expect to be there are there. Like, so my homie Christoph or whatever his name is, he's there. But then you get like the characters they created for this game and they look so just terrible and low poly. I sent you guys a picture of one of them where it's this like dude who just has generic face, generic hair, etc., giving a thumbs up with like the most fucked up hand, like PS1 level hand I've ever seen, where it's like his fist part of his hand is just a block and then his thumb is like a triangle pointing out of it. It was beautiful. But yeah, so the story part of it
Disney, you know, they've only got so much money. They gotta, get the most out of their investments.
The devs of this, they also did the Harry Potter, the mystery Harry Potter mobile game.
Oh God.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah, and
But
some other stuff.
is this as rotten with like the micro transactions?
I haven't encountered any walls for the free-to-playness of it at all yet. And I've probably been playing for like an hour, maybe two.
So none of the characters are getting strangled and you can't get them out unless you microtransaction.
Correct. I have not encountered anyone being strangled yet.
Okay.
Anyways, the gameplay, because I haven't actually talked about what you do to interact with this video game product from Disney. It's basically Bejeweled. It's a match 3 game. But you're like collecting certain amounts of colored.
It's like everything like snowmen and snowflakes and stuff, or what?
Weirdly, the devil's there. So
what?
Like
what?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, I would have believed it.
Download this game. You
said this game is on Android, so anything's possible.
Yeah. You're right. But no, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of, in terms of the style, you're just kind of wherever you are at the time, and whatever character has their powers. Like,
okay.
And like, I think like
it's like a Puzzle and Dragons thing.
Yeah, like Anna can, I don't know, she can like fart, and then Olaf can just be annoying as shit, and then
I like Olaf.
I don't know.
Think
I don't
song
have.
is pretty good.
Yeah,
it is pretty good, but I don't have that much. I don't have that much to say about this game other than it's good. You should probably try it.
Olaf's better than Donkey.
Oh yeah.
Well, you shut your mouth.
It's just the truth.
I will not hear this blasphemy.
Look, I like Shrek, but Donkey is fucking annoying.
Wait, are you saying Donkey is annoying or Eddie Murphy is annoying?
I actually don't know where we're at with Eddie Murphy these days.
I think he did some new stand-up, and it sounds like it's actually good.
Okay, I've historically been a pretty big Eddie Murphy fan, but comedians are dropping like flies to the I can't make jokes if I have to be nice.
It sounds like he did not fall into that trap.
Good, that's good to hear, because I adore some Eddie Murphy.
But don't quote me on that, but I think I heard that from somewhere. We should look into that, because I think he did just put out a new special.
I should watch that if it's good, because I like him. He's one of the few comedians that I still like. I am a pretty big fan of The Golden Child, which probably hasn't aged very well, but it's a pretty good movie. I imagine there's a lot of cultural appropriation if you were to rewatch that movie today, but
Axel Foley was a good character at the time.
Well, Alex, earlier you mentioned something about a murder game, and I can only assume you meant the murder that occurred when you sacrificed all your 32-bit Mac OS apps to be able to use Apple Arcade on your MacBook.
We're getting ever closer. You can just keep crossing things off the list and we'll get there eventually. Yeah, no, you're right. I did install OS X Catalina on my dear piece of shit 2015 MacBook Pro. Because I don't know, that seems like it's been the biggest question mark in terms of the Apple Arcade so far. Because like everyone's been like, oh, it works great on my iPad or my iPhone, yay. But how it works on an actual like computer with mouse, etc., has been kind of up for debate, and people are like, oh. So made a sacrifice to the Apple gods. Tim Cook and I are now in some kind of blood oath. I don't know. And I have OS X Catalina. Rest in peace, my music transcription software, which was 32-bit. And it told me as I was installing, it's like, hey, if you install this, these programs will no longer work. So I was like, oh, well.
It's brutal.
Rip.
Yeah.
So those are gone and will be missed. But in their stead, I now have Apple Arcade. And I will say, signing up for it was a hell of an experience on Mac because it put me through at least 7 terms of services to agree to, which I don't know why. Maybe it's because I haven't actually used the Apple App Store in probably a couple of years. Like maybe it was also that level of things, but yeah, at least 7 terms of services to get through. And then once you actually get to the Apple Arcade, the initial interface you're interacting with is pretty nice, but once you actually get to the list of games and want to download them or access them or whatever, is atrocious. Like it's basically 2 columns of all of the games and it goes all the way down and you can't change it. Like it's always that.
2 columns.
Yes. It's not like you're having a grid of like a 3x3, like 9 grid. That would be nice. And then like you click on one and it brings up a modal or something. That would be nice. But no, it's just too wide with full descriptions under each of them. So like, and there's no way to filter. You have to scroll through absolutely everything. At least it does order them by what's newest. So like you get some semblance of order, but yeah, like if you want to find something in the middle there, you're just kind of aimlessly scrolling. So that kind of sucks.
God.
But I mean, whatever. That's nitpicking, right? Like it works.
That seems like a pretty big. They've already got, how many games do they have on there now?
40 or something.
Is it only 40? I thought it was more than that. But
I thought it was closer to 60, but it may just be 40. Yeah.
I thought like they launched with like 50, but yeah. That's real obnoxious and seems like a major oversight. For those of you, Allison, you've used it on iPad.
Yep.
Right.
iPad.
Does it has search, right? Is it just in the App Store? Like,
I'm honestly not remembering.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Google Play Pass, for as bad as it is, when you search for an app, you can just go. It'll just pull up like, oh, hey, this one's on Play Pass. Here you go.
Oh, wait, actually, you can. Yes.
Okay.
Because I've searched games, and then they're like, oh, it's an Apple Arcade game, and then you click, and it's an Apple Arcade. Yeah.
You so far from what I've seen, you can't do that. And in order to access, if you're using Apple App Store, if you want to access the ones you've installed, you just have to go to that giant list and note the ones that say play rather than get. I mean, technically you could open your whatever you call it, the Finder, and go to what's recently installed in apps and find them that way. But
I mean, yeah,
it's a bit dumb. So interface wise, I would say it's bad on Mac. But the games run fine. I've installed 4 of them so far. Sayonara Wild Hearts, Assemble with Care, What the Golf, and Cat Quest 2. So I've played a little bit of each of them, just enough to kind of see how they feel. Like, because Assemble with Care was my biggest question mark, because that was it just looks like a mobile game to me. Like, from everything I've seen of it, it's just like, this looks like a touchscreen game, and that's how it feels with the mouse. And it's really weird because you would expect, like, in that kind of almost point and click adventure style game, that you would be clicking, holding, dragging, and then letting go of the mouse in order to do stuff. But with that one, you're like clicking on it and holding and dragging. But when you let go, you're still holding on. So you have to click again. So it's just kind of like a mental thing I have to get used to, of like, I have to like basically tap every time you want to do something.
Okay.
So it definitely has that mobile game weirdness to it. And it didn't exactly translate to computer. I mean, it seems really good. So I'm still, it's again, nitpicking and kind of like a UX quality of life kind of thing, but it's not like a big problem.
Have you tried anything with a controller yet, or?
Yes, I plugged in my DS4 for Sayonara Wild Hearts, and it picks it up, and it seems to work. So,
cool.
I'm planning on actually going through some of these games later. I was just kind of doing this as a smoke test to see what was going on. So yeah, Apple Arcade, it works. I don't know if OS X Catalina is worth it, but we'll see.
Well, thank you for your troubles, and rest in peace, your music transcription software.
Yeah.
A moment of silence, please. I said silence. Wow, no respect.
Nailed it.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I the idea behind a moment of silence is there is a blank space in like the waveform, the audio waveform, but we didn't get that. So Alex, how about you tell us about a blank space?
Yeah, you got to it. That's the murder game. All right. So Blankspace. I came across this relatively randomly, and it is at the moment kind of a demo / prototype for a new visual novel puzzle game hybrid thing developed by a studio called No Bread Studio.
How much hentai is involved?
All of it.
Oh god.
Okay.
No, actually zero. From
That's I don't know if there's enough hard drives to.
yeah,
Some
no.
gross hard
There,
drives.
there have been no tentacles and no naked ladies, dudes, and or anywhere in between. So, but yeah, this one in particular is helmed by one of the creators of a game called Soulset, which I definitely played years ago and really enjoyed. It definitely takes Soulset as well as this take a lot of inspiration from the Zero Escape series. So, that's pretty clear to see even as soon as you get started. The setup of this game in particular, of Blankspace, is very reminiscent of the first Saw movie, which I know people look at Saw with but the first Saw movie is actually pretty good. So basically, two people wake up in a locked room, chained to their respective sides of the room, and it's your job as the player to make your way through a series of puzzles to escape the room. So it's an escape room essentially, and more so than like a real life escape room, I would say it's more akin to something like The Room, as in the mobile game, or what started as a mobile game, where you're doing a bunch of logic puzzles to kind of unlock various layers of the world around you and, continue the story that way. So I think the puzzles so far in the demo were fairly clever. I personally never really got stuck on any for too long, but, after I finished, I went back to see because there were some hint systems in place, and I kind of wanted to see how they actually worked. And it's kind of like the old LucasArts adventure game style of hints, where it'll poke you in the right direction a few times, be like, yeah, they're actually pretty clever hints. Like, they're worded in ways that are like not obvious, but once you know the answer, it's actually very obvious. So it's good in that way. And then over time, it's a bit more overt. So. For better or for worse, it does take that part of the LucasArts adventure games. It also takes some adventure game cues by having an inventory and the ability to combine certain items within your inventory. So thankfully, they weren't like obscure or convoluted solutions. They were all pretty logical, because honestly, some of the obscure ones were the downfall of old ass adventure games to me. I don't know.
Rubber chicken and a pulley.
Yeah, like those Monkey Island ones got really bad at some point. Artistically, it's really nice. There's two characters, at least in this. They both have really distinct style. They're cool. They're well written. The environment itself is very bland, but that's by design. Kind of like how I don't know if you guys played Antichamber, but like essentially everything was black and white, but then they would use color to highlight certain parts, like call your attention to things or add accentuation. So it's kind of like that. So it like bland by design, if that makes sense. And yeah, I don't know. The ending to this demo, it's like 30 minutes. It's not much time to invest. It's a great point to cut it off because it leaves you with a lot of questions and like, oh, you'll be intrigued for what happens next kind of thing. And I don't know, it's cool. It feels like the story can branch in a lot of different ways. So I'm interested in seeing how the creator, I think his name is Naryu or something like that, how he approaches those kinds of different situations and how those would affect things. And if it is actually going to have branching paths or if it's just the illusion of choice. But I don't know, it's cool. I have a few criticisms of it. One, so you get, at some point, spoilers, you get unchained from the wall. But you do eventually get a little bit of agency for how you move around the room. But the interface for that is terrible, I will say. Like, there's basically arrows pointed on the ground for where you're going to orient yourself and what you're going to look at. But sometimes, like, the perspective is weird. So you kind of just click on one and you're like, oh, but I actually want to look at this thing. And then you just kind of end up getting into an endless loop because your viewport can't localize anything around you. So it's not always super clear about where you're going to be pointing. I don't know how to fix that. Maybe like a mini map that shows the different chunks of the room and you can highlight where you are, or like maybe click on the mini map rather than the arrows. I don't know how to fix it, but it is kind of ugly. The other thing I would say is a weird thing to criticize, but I'd love to see more actual story, because like the story that they've written, the characters they've written are good. And once you get to the part with agency and you're clicking around and like picking up objects and stuff like that, there's banner text and like the characters are quipping off of each other, but it's like the story just kind of stops and it's just pure quips. So I imagine when they get to the full release, like, yeah, there's going to be more story, but in the demo, it just definitely came to mind. That's like, oh yeah, this is just, they set up something really cool and then just kind of dropped it. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, demo itself is only like half an hour, so not a huge time investment if you want to check it out.
Is there any indication of how long it'll be until a full release, or?
Yeah, so at the end, when you get to the ending, he says, or I assume he, sorry, Naru, if you're a she, but it says there will be a Kickstarter happening sometime in October 2019, so this month, with a planned release in 2020. So yeah, it seems really, really promising for a small indie project. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I'll leave a link to the demo in the description of this podcast.
Sure, yeah.
Cool.
Big year for visual novels.
It is, and I am into it.
It's intense. They're coming fast. Is Necro Barista out?
No,
soon?
it got delayed.
Oh, to when?
No idea.
Oh, did it come out in Japan?
I don't think so. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now, but I remember seeing it got delayed again, and people were sad.
Yeah,
because it's been delayed several times at this point.
Yeah, that it was gonna come out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Steam page. It used to say release date of Q3 2019. Now the release date just says soon. So
interesting.
So yeah, no
okay.
Idea. That's another game I downloaded on Apple Arcade, was NeoCab.
Okay.
I need to play that.
Well, you did have another visual novel that you've been playing. You touched on it last time. Syconia? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that for more than like 10 seconds. It's good. It seems like it's going to be like a 15-hour-ish story. I'm, let's say, 3 hours into it. So, we'll see how it goes.
You got 3 seconds.
Baba Booey. Hi.
Okay, thank you. That was your 10 seconds on Syconia. When They Cry, is that what it is?
Yes.
All right. Next up, Allison, you don't have any games, I see.
I just basically played a little bit more of What the Golf, but that I don't know if there's much more I need to say on it. Just that it continues to be surprising.
We continue to have a review for What the Golf up on Fix.space. Go and check that out, as well as some other reviews, including a few visual novels.
Hell yeah.
AI, the Somium Files, which I am playing right now, which is pretty good. And Later Alligator, and Art of the Woods, is that?
Yep.
And that, as well as some other games. Go check that out, Fix.space.
And Photographs. Don't forget Photographs.
Is that a visual novel?
You can forget Photographs.
Well, one thing that people refuse to forget about is Destiny 2.
Hell yeah.
Oh. Is that for better or for worse?
I don't know.
Why do people, what is the deal with this? I don't understand. It's like taking on a Kingdom Hearts level of ire from people who would never play it in the first place.
I mean, it seems like recently.
I'm not saying you specifically, but
it seems like recently some of the ire is coming from the whole PC version kind of nightmares that have been going on.
But I don't understand what that. There's no nightmares.
Yeah,
I haven't really been following it super closely, but weren't people complaining about like Steam stuff?
There's some like name stuff.
But the name stuff is a net positive because while Valve should moderate their names, I haven't seen anything like offensive, and all the names that I've seen have been pretty good.
I've seen some good ones. I can't remember what I saw, but I've seen some people mention like some shitty names in there. But
I did a public event with a Dr. Poop butt ass.
Hell yeah! All right, never mind. This sounds great.
I don't know. I mean, you had to like migrate from BattleNet to Steam. That was a thing, but I don't know what the people expected to happen. Like, we can definitely say it was dumb that Activision ever forced them to release it on the Blizzard launcher, for sure. That was stupid. But like, for them to go independent, they were going to have to move off of it somehow. So,
but yeah, wasn't there something about like the order in which you had to buy DLCs, or like they weren't like if you bought the most recent one, whatever that is, Forsaken? I don't remember. Shadowkeep. Thank you. It wouldn't like bring in the previous ones or something like that, or I don't remember.
Don't get the previous. You don't get Forsaken with Shadowkeep. You have to buy Forsaken separately,
which we discussed last week.
There's some. You have Forsaken. Initially, they said that it wouldn't be available day one. That it would take a couple days for them to get, like literally a couple of days to get Forsaken's campaign into the Steam version. But that ended up not happening. That was it was fine. The day it all came over on day one.
Okay, I think that's what I had heard. Okay, that makes more sense then.
Then there was some stuff where like if you hadn't finished the campaign when it transferred, you would it would reset your progress to the beginning of the campaign.
That was a weird one. I don't think that affected very many people because like either you were playing Destiny and you've done them, or you weren't and it didn't affect you. Exactly, I had to start Forsaken over because I got. What happened to me with Forsaken was I got to a point in Forsaken that is admittedly kind of dumb, where you have to go off and do these bounties, and it doesn't like almost a lot of the NPCs, not almost all, but a lot of, I would say the majority of the NPCs in the game can give you bounties, which are like things to do. Usually they're specific to a region, but in the tower, there's characters that can give you bounties specific to like doing strikes and stuff. And they're just like repeatable quests that give you rewards. So there's a part in Shadowkeep Forsaken where you're supposed to do bounties for the spider, and it's not super clear that what it means is you need to do his special one time only each bounties where you go kill like a wanted fallen that got free from the prison that breaks open during the beginning of Forsaken. Scorn. They're not even Scorn. They're just regular. They're a range. It's because the prison contained a lot of people. It had a lot of different like Hive people and Scorn and Forsaken and so he has a list of bounties that are like go kill Captain Ironsides. He's a fallen and he's on Earth now. That's where he escaped to, and you have to do 5 of those. And the game's not very clear that that's the bounties they want you to do. So last year I started doing his normal bounties because he also has ones that are just like kill enemies in the Tangled Shore. So I started doing those, and then I got frustrated because they weren't giving me progress, and I didn't realize that you had to do the special bounties. And then the special bounties kind of suck because they don't really give you, they just say like, this guy's on Earth somewhere, who knows? And it's like, seriously? Or it'll give you like the name of a lost sector, but unless you look it up, you don't know where that lost sector is. So it's cool if you were someone who was playing Destiny a lot then and you knew that stuff already and you could go, oh, I can follow these clues. But I just looked up a guide this time around and it made that part much more palatable. But anyway, that's why I didn't play through it last year. So I had to start over this year and play through Forsaken, and I'm a chunk of the way into Shadowkeep. And I think that game is very good. There's not a ton of stuff to really like, not a ton of stuff has changed that wouldn't like, things change that are really big if you play Destiny, but if you are an outside observer, it's still a shooter that has loot in it and a cool story and setting and stuff. So I think it's very good, and I think the Steam transition went smoother than you could have even hoped for, really, because they basically had server issues for a day and then it was good.
How does it feel with mouse and keyboard?
Oh, it's great. I've been playing it on PC for a while though. Like I played it on PC last year. I did all the base game and all of the year one content on PC, and through the BattleNet launcher, it's great on PC. There's not really a better shooter that I can think of in terms of like the feel of playing it. And the thing that I like most about what they've done, they've added things like you've probably heard the words Armor 2.0 and stuff. They've done some things to the way that game functions, but what I like best about it now is there's a lot of stuff to do. It feels like other than just grind for the raid. That was my biggest hang up with Destiny was, I don't know enough people to raid, and I don't know, I would like to try it at some point, but I don't know that I will ever play a new raid because I don't know that I have enough people that I can get together for like 6 to 8 hours either.
If you find people who know what they're doing, it's not that long. Oh
no, I know. I'm not saying I'll never do a raid. I'm more talking about like gearing up to do the raid at launch kind of thing. I'm planning on, some friends and I are planning on trying to do some guided game stuff, and go through some of the older raids just for fun. But I don't know that I'll ever be someone who has a group of people that we like take time off of work to get the raid done right away or whatever, you know? So part of the whole like grind up to that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but now with the season pass stuff and with the just generally the kind of end game stuff that they've added, and the fact that there's a reason to kind of hunt for specific loot now beyond just getting a cool gun, for how it can like affect your stats and stuff. There's just a lot of stuff now that you can do at the end at the power cap that is interesting. And I think that's pretty exciting. It's been pretty cool. There's a lot of lore stuff too, but I don't necessarily have to bore everyone with that other than
you said sword logic at the beginning, but that's all the lore you need.
There's a cool, the Shadowkeep has some cool stuff in it that if you've played prior, it's interesting because Shadowkeep is in the move to Steam and making the game infinitely more accessible to people, you know, lowercase a accessible in that it making it free and stuff. Shadowkeep is totally not an expansion aimed at new players whatsoever. Like both from a story and lore perspective and from a like, it's some of the stuff is kind of hard and it just is not. It does some interesting things with like the way it structures the campaign, but they're kind of confusing if you already are trying to wrestle with learning how to play the game. So I think it's funny that it's the expansion that came out with this whole move.
Like what they did with New Light seems like it's not directed at new players at all.
I don't know. I don't know that that's fair. Like I think they just maybe didn't do it well enough.
You can come in as a new player, but like whenever everyone starts at like 750 or whatever, and then to do like you have to go find like Amanda Holiday, and if you're like a new person, unless you have a guide, you're gonna be like, how the fuck do I do like the story?
Yeah, so
whatever.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's structured especially well, but they don't. The problem is, I don't think they want you to go back and play that stuff, and that's part of why it's obfuscated. Like,
part of it's like learning how to play and stuff, and like they can say like, oh, like here's what stuff is, but
that's like, what I mean. Like it's not good structurally. I think the cool thing that they do that I wish other games, like, oh my God, do I wish Final Fantasy did this? And it sounds like maybe Final Fantasy is going to do something like this with their like the way they're going to restructure everything. The cool thing that they do is that opening mission that you play for New Light is like more or less the one that comes from Destiny. And so like, headcanon lore wise, the idea is, hey, it's now Shadowkeep is happening. Your guardian is waking up now. And like, it just took a longer for your guardian to wake up. So all the stuff that all the like Red War and Warmind and Curse of Osiris, all of that happened. You can go back and play it to see it, but that's not what is currently happening in the story. So, and I think that that's a really interesting way to handle the problem of these like live service games that have years of content built in. And I really think the idea is that you jump in for free and then, and again, Shadowkeep is a weird one to do this with because it's very much not like Forsaken would have been a much better starting point. Which is why I still think if you're a new player, the best thing you can do is buy Forsaken with play the free game, play the opening mission, see if you like how it feels, and then get Forsaken. Because it's not tied behind any of that weird stuff. It gives you a quest and like you go to the Tangled Shore to do it and all that. But then don't even bother playing the Red War and like if you take that time to watch the ridiculous 4-hour lore video or whatever, and then you're good to go. Because it's not that those campaigns were not good. I actually like the DLC from year one way more than most people, especially Warmind. I think Warmind is really cool. But so it's not like don't ever play them, but they're not. The point of New Light is you're kind of coming in now, like your character is coming out of, stasis now. And that's kind of an interesting thing. And I think in the future, when the expansions are a little more open to like when there's not as much of a barrier to new players in the expansions, then that'll make even more sense. And I think it's kind of cool. That said, they do need to do a better job of explaining how the game works to you for sure. That's there's no question about that.
Yeah, it's weird to see it go from like a story game where it's like, okay, you start the game and then you're going to go through every single bit of the story. Like you have to play through all of the Red War and all the DLC leading up to like Forsaken. Like, because if this came out on Battle.net and they didn't go independent, then you would have had to have played everything up until the point of Shadowkeep.
No, you could play the DLC stuff independent of the other stuff.
When it was on Battle.net?
At a certain point, I'm pretty positive you may have had to play the base Red War campaign.
You would not be like high enough level to get into the new stuff. Maybe.
So from a power perspective, it would have been tough, but you wouldn't have had to have played the missions. There's a lot of different ways you can get gear. You could have run strikes. You could have done dailies. Like you could have done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. It's weird. And I feel like it's a major change to the way that game functions, and I don't know. I haven't dived into it. I am tentative. Like I'm interested in Forsaken, but also I'm mad that it doesn't come with Shadowkeep. Like I would gladly buy the $60 version if I got Shadowkeep and Forsaken, but that's not what they did. So now I'm like, do I even want to bother? I don't know. Wait till it goes on sale, maybe. We'll see.
Just wait till next year. It'll be free then. Like I guarantee you.
People are talking about it now, and I want to play it now.
Pay $25. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't want to pay $25.
I don't want to pay.
I am large. I contain multitude.
And I'd love to be able to participate in those conversations.
Do I contradict myself? Very well. I contradict myself.
But I do think that the Forsaken campaign, personally, I think it's probably worth $25. It's not like super long, especially. So one of the nice things about being $7.50. All of the content pre-Shadowkeep has been sort of leveled to $7.50, but it's pretty easy to go through Forsaken. It's not very difficult because you increase in power level as you play it, but the missions don't get harder, which sounds dumb, but it's actually pretty fun because it makes you feel like powerful in a way that is very enjoyable. So you get that kind of like, wow, I'm a badass. I can like jump in the air and shoot one guy in the head with my hand cannon and he dies. And then you jump into Shadowkeep and that actually feels more challenging and like, cause it's more tuned to where you're at. So I think that's pretty cool. I think the fact that it's so easy is fun. And it also means that I could see the boss battles in Forsaken being kind of frustrating because there's a lot of boss battles. Could see them being kind of frustrating if you were at the power level, but since they were like just challenging enough. I think I died once in one of them. And it felt really well tuned. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good game. I think that like, you just need to understand what you're getting into. I think one of the things that Destiny has, we've talked a little bit about this off air, Andre, but I think one of the things that Destiny has, it's a thing that's plagued Destiny since the first game is that people want it to be something that it isn't, which to a certain extent, like if there's not enough people who want to play the thing that it is, I'm not necessarily defending it as like people need to change what they want. That's not what I'm saying, but it is because it has such a mass appeal from what it looks like, because it's a first person shooter made by the people who made Halo. I think it draws in a much larger audience when it really is kind of a niche game. And I think they want to keep making it a niche game. And that is a bit of a turnoff for a lot of people. And it's fair that it's a turnoff, but they're not going to make it the thing that people keep coming to it over and over again. Like, well, maybe it's the thing I want now. It's not going to be.
Let me equip more than one exotic armor piece.
It's never going to be that.
Which is just, I don't understand why. It's the coolest looking shit, and I want to look cool, but you say, no, you can have one cool looking thing, and then everything else is like everyone else is wearing the same stuff. Like, come on.
Well, I'll say that's not really true. I mean, there's lots of cool looking
legendary pieces. I'm always kind of like, they're fine, but I want to like mix and match exotics and make like a stupid overpowered thing.
I will say that in the time since the base game, like Forsaken and Shadowkeep have really cool legendaries for sure. They've emphasized those more and more and exotics less and less.
Well, okay. So they've got like, don't they have like a transmogrify kind of cosmetic thing where you can have like armor, but then you can change the way it looks, right?
I don't know how that
armor
works.
2.0. Because if I could make the legendary stuff just look like the exotic stuff, that's good enough for me, even though I want the powers. Like if I can just have like the really over designed, like really cool looking stuff, that's cool.
And see,
I'll accept that. But
as someone who's pretty into it, if everyone like had huge shoulder pads, if it turned into like WoW looking crazy shit, I would be turn off to me. I like that you're like, wow, I have this wild looking helmet, and then I have like cool, but you know, normal armor on. That's it. I think I like the way that kind of forces you to pick where you're embellishing.
Let me put a pair of exotic booty shorts on my Awoken Warlock.
But part of the reason that it works well to have the single exotic thing is like, you can't just equip all of the coolest exotics. Everyone would look the same. Like you wouldn't have the kind of variation you have now.
And then they should put more exotics in.
There's a lot of them. It's just that it doesn't matter what you do. People will decide that something is the best build, and then everyone will do that. It doesn't even have to be true. So I don't know. I think it's just not, and then, you know, like it's not really a PvP game. And there's people who really want it to be a PvP game and complain about the PvP being bad. And that's just like, it's fine. It's not great. And so anyway, I think that it will continue to struggle with a large audience that thinks that it should be something it's not. But with that said, they seem to be really doubling down on their core audience with this expansion, which I think is a smart move in this transition, because those people will evangelize the game kind of going forward.
Yeah. Especially with it going free to play, like stuff like Warframe is just like so bonkers big that I think Destiny will easily find an audience that are interested in playing that kind of game, or the kind of game that Destiny wants to be. And
to some extent, I think that those people are already playing it. Like, I don't know that the free to play bump is going to be as big. I think it'll certainly be big from a like new players registering to try it, but
I think it could easily, like, you can have tons of like teens or whatever who don't necessarily, you know, maybe not teen, you know, on console, and they're like, oh, I can't buy Destiny for whatever reason. You know, I get like FIFA once a year, but now I can get Destiny because it's free. And you know, maybe not, but I think this could actually really bump it up and make it, you know, help them grow their numbers if it's free, and if they, and it depends on if like they keep adding stuff and whatnot. But
I'm sure. I'm sorry.
I could feel like if like that could win over people too, just because Destiny does feel really good to play. So I could definitely see somebody going like, oh, it's free, I'll try it, and then it actually is quite fun.
I think what they're doing is smart in that I think you're both right in terms of there will be a lot of people who try it and then maybe play through the base campaign or something. But they're not making it into, like, if you want to play Forsaken, you have to pay them $25 or wait until it goes free. That's it. There is no like grind out currency to buy stuff. It is the game is like, it's almost like New Light is kind of like a demo. With a lot of content in it. Yeah. And that then they're like, no, and then you need to pay for this stuff. Like, you can't get the seasons anyway other than purchasing them for $10. So I don't know. And I kind of respect that.
I mean, but those are just battle passes. Like, that's whatever.
Yeah, but you can. There's ways that you can earn currency in a lot of other games.
And I'm sure something like that'll come to Destiny eventually.
Maybe. I don't know if they do that. Then I would honestly be pretty surprised if they did that, because it just seems like that's not what they're making. But maybe, I don't know.
They've only been free of Activision for a couple months.
The reason I don't think that'll happen is because when you go to buy the season pass, you do it through the Steam interface. You don't go to an in-game. Like, you can click a link in the game, but then it opens it up in Steam for you to buy. Sure. So doesn't feel as built for that kind of system as something like, if you look at like Dauntless as an example, you can earn platinum through the free version of the battle pass. And then in theory, you can't earn enough in one pass to buy it, but you can finish the pass as a free player and then buy the premium version of the pass once you're done and unlock everything. I believe there's a free track and a premium track for the Destiny Battle Pass as well. But no matter what, you're going to open a Steam window and buy it for $10 if you want it. So it's just, and it's just, that's kind of like the thing that differs from other battle passes and other like seasonal content things. So yeah, I don't know. That game is, I think it's very good. I think it's very fun. I like Shadowkeep, what I played so far. There's some lore implications early on in Shadowkeep that are really exciting. So
trying to look at the season pass for Season of the Undying and see what's in there, and I just get an error. So it's going strong.
It's weird, but there's some cool stuff in it. It's got.
I get Firehose 02, whatever that means.
The cool thing, you get this seasonal artifact that levels up with your battle pass.
Is it a fire hose? Does it put out the fire that is Destiny 2?
It gives you a power bonus, and then you can unlock different mods from it by leveling it. So it's kind of cool. It's a little less cool than I thought it was initially. I thought that the mods were like mods you were putting on the artifact, but they're actually mods that you pull out of the artifact that you can put on your weapons and stuff. And then the power boost is just a flat. It gives you bonus power. So it could be better, but hopefully they'll continue to work on that concept.
I don't know. Maybe I am curious because like I enjoy playing Destiny up to a point, but then it's like I didn't do Forsaken for whatever reason. I don't even remember why. Mostly just because I was feeling kind of not great about it after the PC.
$40, I think.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of other stuff, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff coming out.
I'm
curious.
I've not played it,
but
I didn't play through it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You also played an arcade banger that has just come to Switch and PC.
Yeah, I'm playing it on PC.
Okay.
I picked up Killer Queen Black yesterday, which I had never played Killer Queen before. I had always seen it, but there weren't any machines that I was aware of in Detroit when I lived there. And that was when I had a group of 4 other people that I could or 9 other people that I could conceivably go to a arcade with and play. And so since moving here, there's 3 Killer Queen machines in the Seattle area, but I just feel weird going to a bar to play with strangers that's in that game. Like on my team, it'd be fine to play against a team of strangers, but I want to play with friends if I'm going to do it in person. Mm-hmm. So I never got around to playing it. But Killer Queen Black is the home port is the wrong
home
word.
Game.
Yeah, it's not a direct port of Killer Queen. It's actually got some pretty heavy structural differences. One being that it is a 4v4 game instead of 5v5 for Killer Queen Black and that's a fairly big deal. The stages are also a little smaller. And I don't know if Killer Queen had a bunch of different stages, but Black has multiple stages in it. That I think Killer Queen, the arcade game, just has one stage. But Black has a bunch of different stages, and they vary heavily. Like the economy of the stages varies heavily. But for those who haven't played it, because I feel like this is a game, Killer Queen is a game that everyone knows about, but has heard the name of, but doesn't really know necessarily what it is.
I've played Killer Queen and I still barely know what it is because I was drunk because I played it at a barcade.
So it's really it's a really fascinating game. I think the closest comparison is like if you merged Dota and Rocket League is kind of like the way I would.
What about Dota and iDarb?
Even better. That's probably an even better comparison.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's there's not really any physics throwing stuff in it. But it is a platforming sides, not scrolling, but 2D competitive platforming action game where one person plays as the queen of your hive, and then the other 3 players play as workers. And there's 3 paths to victory, which is what they always say when you start the game. There are berries around the map, so the workers can go and collect those and take them back to your hive. And when you've filled up your hive with berries, then that is an economic victory. You can kill the opposing queen 3 times. If you do that, you win a military victory. Or there is a snail in the middle of the map, and a worker can jump on it and run it towards their goal on their side of the map. And if you successfully get the snail over your goal, then you win the round.
That classic bee tactic.
Yes.
Get the snail to your hive.
Classic snail victory.
The result is this is a game, and then you're controlling. You have workers can grab a berry and then jump in these like chamber things. These they call them gates, I think. And when you do that, you can come out as a weapon wielding warrior. And in the arcade game, there's just sword wielding workers for warriors. But in Killer Queen Black, you can have a mace, you can have a sword, you can have a gun, and then there's also a shield wielding one that can't really do any damage. That's just like a defensive player, and then the ability to get super speed. And to be able to use the gates, they have to either be neutral or your queen has to have recently flown over them to claim them for your side. You can't use the other side's gates to transform. So what results is it's super, super tight control wise. And you have to kind of keep an eye on a lot of things at once. So someone always has to be watching the snail. It's all on screen at the same time too. But naturally, you might lose track of what's going on with the snail because you're busy trying to collect berries for an economic victory. And then you realize, oh shit, they have the snail is almost over their goal. Fuck, what are we going to do? Because the queen or the warriors that are playing weren't keeping track of killing the opponents when they're getting on the snail. And you respawn really fast. Or you might kind of be okay, well, I'm collecting berries, but oh fuck, all 3 of their workers turned into warriors, and now they're overwhelming our queen because we don't have anyone to kind of kill their workers. So it creates this super, super fast. The rounds are 5 minutes. From what I've played, I'm sure when you get into higher level play, they last longer, but they're really, really fast, and a ton of stuff is happening really quickly. And it just feels so good to play it. And there is a ton of push and pull and sort of strategic, what are we going to do going on in every single match, every round. And you play to a best of 3. So the overall match length is a little longer than the individual rounds. And last night I was playing, I had an amazing game that went to 6 full rounds, and I scored us an economic victory in one of them because I was the only one collecting berries. I managed to kill their queen as a warrior at one point and win us a military victory. I was watching the Slug at one point. So it gives you the ability to feel you're really having an impact on the match without being, you don't necessarily have to be super, super Twitch skilled to do it, because if you want to go and collect berries or whatever and push towards that, then you can do that. If you want to be the person who's always going down to ride the Slug, that's very easy mechanically to do. And you can kind of feel like you're contributing even if you're not great at platformers or whatever.
I mean, I've always wanted to just ride the Slug, so makes sense. It sounds
snail, not Slug. Snail. Sorry.
Oh, well,
It's different thing entirely.
The
But I think
the armored slug.
Zoomers are going to be terrible at this game because they'll just ignore the slugs. They're too busy zooming.
God, there was one game where I was like, oh shit, the snail. It was like we just lost because there was nothing we could do. No one was watching the snail, and they won on that.
It's like a Team Fortress game where you're just like, oh god, the payload.
Yes, it's
or playing Overwatch and you're just like, I've been on the payload for like 3 minutes and nobody's come to stop me.
And if you're holding a berry, the snail goes faster. So there's still a little bit of nuance there. But
you dangle the berry in front of the snail, like on a stick.
They should. He just holds it above his head, but they really should. The communication tools they put in are pretty good too. They default to voice chat on, which I turned that off before I started playing because I don't really need that in my life. But they do have a pretty good ping system where I've been playing with the controller so far. You just hold down a trigger and press a button to ping, and it's really easy. It's like you hold down the left trigger and A pings the snail, X pings the blue base, B pings the gold base, and Y pings the gates, I think. I can't remember. But it feels really intuitive while you're playing because the snail is usually in the middle of the map and then the bases are on either side. So you just push the button that is close on the controller face to where you want to ping on the screen, and then it does it. And it's a pretty clear ping without being annoying and obnoxious. So you can go like snail, 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 snail. If someone needs to go and kill the thing on the snail. So yeah, I haven't tried playing as the queen yet. I had a second game last night where our queen was really terrible, and it was like painful because the game was very fast and we lost very quickly.
It happens.
Yeah. But it has ranked modes, and there's supposedly the black part of Killer Queen Black is that like the best team, the highest ranked team is going to be will be black, like the color of the team. It's normally blue and gold, but they're doing some ranked thing where like the high, and they haven't fully implemented it, and they said that they're still tweaking the like ways that it's going to work, but it's a way to sort of show who like the best players in the game are. They'll always show up as the black team, which is kind of cool. The only thing I wish it had is, and they might add this, since my 2019 brain is broken, I wish there was a number going up while I was playing that was like getting me cosmetics or something. I don't think they should tie any gameplay stuff to anything like that, because part of the beauty of the game is how like everything is just right there. But I would like to be able to get like emotes or profile page stuff or something, because that's just how the world works now. And I feel like
have a sickness, it's okay.
Yes, I think we all do.
Well,
it's a societal sickness.
Okay, we live in a society.
We do live in a society.
Are you down with it though?
Oh shit! Can you feel it?
Oh god! Please stop.
Ooh.
Anyway, people should buy Killer Queen Black. It's also it's on Switch too, and it's crossplay.
Oh, that's cool.
Darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, so it's the queue times are really quick because you're queuing with Switch and PC players. So yeah, $20. I think it's really worth the $20. You can play it locally on Switch too, but I've heard like people saying that there are some issues with local play and that the bots are good, but like I was watching some Kotaku coverage and they were frustrated that they couldn't get the 2 Switch local wireless thing to work well. And the developer's response was like, we are working to make sure that this works smoother and more seamlessly, but the game is designed to be played online. So it's kind of made for you to queue up and play with other people on the internet instead of playing with people.
Which is so funny because it's been like almost a decade of like an arcade game. And then like it kind of passed over the whole like local multiplayer thing on like consoles and PC, even though like
I mean, honestly, that was kind of my biggest worry, because there is a Killer Queen machine at my local barcade, but I also haven't been able to like, I don't know enough people who would want to go play it with me. So I was kind of concerned about that for the home version. But it sounds like that's not what they're going for with it.
No, yeah, it's online. It's a game you want to play on the internet, ranked. You click the ranked button, and then you have a little badge that shows your rank, and you play with other people. And
just very interesting to me that they made it difficult, or it doesn't work that well.
Yeah, I think they want it to work better locally.
Yeah,
than it does. I don't think it was intentional, but
yeah,
they're definitely trying to push it as a online game that you play on the internet.
That's cool. I might have to check it out then.
Yeah, we should totally play it too. I think the only thing is I don't know if there's a way to make parties from PC to Switch. Like, I don't know if there's any way you can, like, if you got it on Switch, I don't know if we could like play together purposefully, which is a conscious choice I made. But given that it's an online game and the Switch online, I've never had a good experience with it. I very much was like, I'm gonna get this on PC. I have heard some people complain about controller latency on Switch for some reason too. So it sounds like
so maybe I should get it on PC. But
yeah, it sounds like the Switch version has a little bit of work to be done on it to be more functional, I guess, to be better. So yeah,
cool. I don't have a segue, but maybe, I don't know. I've been having some controller latency issues with this game on the Switch. I've been playing Valfaris on the Switch, which is, y'all heard of Contra?
No,
what is that?
Contra is.
I've heard of hardcore.
Hardcore parkour.
Oh god, hardcore is so bad.
So yeah, Valfaris is like sci-fi. Contra sci-fi too. It's a 2D side-scrolling shooty platformy game. It's very sci-fi, very metal. Like just like constant shredding guitar and double bass drums kind of through the whole game. Not as wailing as I'd like, or like over the top as I'd like from the music. Like it's just pretty like consistent, like chugging for most of it, and like you get to boss fights and the music will really kick in. It's pretty good. But yeah, so this game is, you're like some space guy and you land on this planet and you do some ridiculous murder to aliens and alien soldiers.
So it's like an inverse Contra, because
yeah, you're the alien.
You're the alien.
You're the alien, and I think there's some revenge story involved. I don't know. The story is kind of whatever. Also, it's hard to read. I do not like the font choice they made.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to read. Some weird styling on it. But yeah, so if you don't know what Contra is, you run to the side and you shoot things. You pick up weapons, then you get new abilities with those weapons.
Do the weapons in Valfaris, do they feel like Contra power-ups, or are they kind of unique?
So they're not power-ups, they're actual like discrete weapons. And you go into, and so you don't need a Konami code to advance through the game, because there are checkpoints like every, I don't know, after like major sections you'll have like checkpoints.
Okay.
And then at those checkpoints you can upgrade your weapons. Like you start off with just like a blaster pistol and a sword, and you like the sword will like when you hit enemies, it'll get you energy back, and then you can use that energy to use like your secondary weapon. Like the first one you get is like a machine gun kind of thing, or like a assault rifle, and then you get like a smaller machine gun like to replace your main weapon, right, and stuff like that. And as you upgrade them, you get like enhanced firepower, more range, and things like that. Every time you pick up a new weapon, like it zooms in on your character and like the guitars start wailing and then they start headbanging.
That's pretty dumb.
It's pretty good. And they all have like really stupid, like over the top metal names, like Man O' War and Hell's Fury and
nice
stuff like that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. My favorite gun. So my favorite loadout so far has been my small gun. Shoots out kind of like a flamethrower, not quite, but it just kind of does like a short thing in front of me, and then if it kills enemies, it summons like wolf spirits.
All right.
And those like fly around the screen and like will damage enemies. And then than like a rocket launcher thing. And like you've got like a shield that you can put up, and if you do it like right before you get hit by like a missile or whatever, you can grab the missile out of the air or like whatever shot is coming at you and then fire it back, or you can use it to like counter a melee attack and stun the enemies. And so yeah, it's pretty fun. It's very difficult. I die a lot. You probably will too. And like part of that is the latency of like trying to get the shield to go off at the right time to like stun the big melee guy who I can only damage if he's stunned. Like, why can't I stun him? And it's just not like blocking in time.
Right. And so with the upgrades for weapons you're talking about, does that mean when you die, you keep that upgraded weapon? Like it's not like it's not like actual Contra where if you die late game, you're kind of boned because you just have
this
the shooter.
This is all persistent stuff. Okay. You get as you go through the levels, you pick up what are they called? Blood metal, I think. I think that's what it is.
Sick.
And like so you pick up once you get 3 blood metal, you can do like the first upgrade on a weapon, and then you need like 6 and then probably 9 and then probably 12. I've only upgraded things twice on only a few things. I don't know how long this game is. I'm like maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours in at this point, but a lot of that has been just like bashing my head against like a few of the same spots. The art is pretty cool. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like PS1-ish, but more high fidelity, like Symphony of the Night, but more high fidelity.
It seems like, I don't know. It seems like a less, it's like Dead Cells with less attention to detail, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. Dead Cells is pretty like noisy, I feel like. I don't even know. It's well, no, because Dead Cells I don't even know how to describe it. It's
like Dead Cells reminds me of Super Brothers in that it's like that low poly but high detail.
Sure.
Whereas this seems like that, but maybe not quite as high detail, but still more detail than low poly.
It's pretty high detail. I don't know, but when you start bringing poly into it, I'm like, they're 2D games. What are we talking about? But yeah, it's very like, I don't know, because Dead Cells is very like pixel art-ish, where this seems more like sprites and not so pixel arty. I guess it's sprites, but it doesn't seem so much like pixel art. It just seems like it's kind of like animated, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's all good.
More than pixel art, it's like if the Genesis was better. That's kind of like, that's where I'm gonna fall on it. If the Genesis was better, it might look like that.
All right, fair enough.
So it's pretty cool. It's on most platforms, I believe. So you should check it out if you're into that kind of Contra type game, or like games with like metal soundtracks.
Does it seem particularly replayable, or does it just kind of seem like you would finish it and just be done with it?
There's no like score or anything, I don't think. There's like some, I don't even know. Like I've heard there are secrets. I don't know what are qualifying as secrets. Like I found some like maybe bonus areas, but they don't like get you anything like special. They get you like some blood metal that you can use to upgrade. So I don't know if there's anything worth like really going back for, other than like you really enjoy playing it. But
all right,
cool. I'm not sure about that. It's neat though. If you like, and you have to use currency to activate like the respawn points, you'll get like these green shards. And if you save the green shards at the end of the like section, or at the end of like the stage or whatever, you'll be able to cash those in to get more upgrade points. Or you can, if you have like 4 out of 4, then the next, like the 5th one you get will actually restore like energy and power. So there, you can decide if you want to wait to use those, use them to upgrade, or if you want to actually set up a save point for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Valfaris.
Valfaris. It's neat. All right. We're going to get into some news.
Ooh.
Oh.
Well, we'll start with the lighter bit of news, we can kind of talk about that and where we're at with the official announcement of Sony's next console's name. PlayStation 5.
Wow.
What?
Holy
I am so surprised.
damn, Sony.
Mm-hmm.
You nailed it again.
You think they're gonna have the S and the 5 be like a mirror of each other, like font wise?
Probably.
Probably.
That could be.
They won't.
Yeah.
We do this every time. We do this every time. Sony, it's like, oh, is Sony going to do this cool thing with their logo or the box or the name? No.
I don't think I've ever had that conversation.
Sorry. I mean, it's like a larger gaming, like when like there was the whole talk, like they're just going to call it the PlayStation this time. Nope. There's the whole, like, but last time out, there was stuff around the logo as well, if I recall, that was like, well, will they incorporate the logo on the box because it's been X years of PlayStation? No. Like, I feel like people always come up with ideas for things that are cool that they'll do with their property.
I'm just saying, when it says PS4 or PS5, the S and the 5, they're just like,
I know, I'm with you. I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool. It's just they don't do cool stuff like that.
We'll see. We talked last week. We talked about how our faith in Sony is wavering. Pat was not here for that, but about like the transitions and the odd like just like flash of Sony news where they're like, throw all this out there right now, and then also I guess we'll talk about the PS5 stuff more before we get into it. I don't know that there's a whole lot to discuss. They came out and they said, here's what it's called in like a tweet. Basically, they just tweeted it out.
Didn't it start as an exclusive story with
so Wired
Wired
had an exclusive story. I don't know if that was where, like, I was asleep when all this happened, so I don't know if the tweet happened and then like the Wired story came out. They came out at like the same time.
Yeah, I think it was the Wired story first and then the tweet shortly after.
Maybe.
I kind of give them credit for the way they've handled this, like the way they're releasing the news, because like they could have done this as some big stage show and been like really pomp and circumstance and spent a bunch of money flying people out. And who knows, they may still have a big stage show at some point. But
you mean like exactly how they announced the PS4?
Well, right. But I do appreciate it. It just kind of said like, it's a PS5. Here are some details. Like, I don't know.
Right.
We need these companies to do more of that and less of the like create a specific event that costs a shitload of money and flies a bunch of people around to just say the name of the thing.
I mean, if they hold a big event, that gives people jobs, that puts money in the economy. But I think there is like they're going to get the coverage either way. And I think this Wired story kind of shows like they can just go to Wired and be like, oh yeah, it's the PS5. Here's some, and like they're even like they've said like, oh yeah, no, we're still prototyping like a controller, which sounds pretty neat.
That is the thing that I think sounds the most interesting of this whole. The rest of it is kind of like, it's a new console.
Yeah, it's like it's clarifying some stuff they had talked about before, like, oh yeah, it's going to be hardware ray tracing, not software. And then like I think there was some stuff about the SSDs, but yeah, the controller stuff is like kind of the big news from it.
Yeah.
They've talked about like in this article, they talk about how they're implementing some like haptic type feedback to like, I think in place of Rumble to like give it a more detailed. So they're like, Nintendo said HD Rumble, we're going to give you 4K Rumble. They took that seriously and they're actually doing it.
That stuff is in the Steam controller, which is one of the things I really like about it. I think you had said that earlier, Allison.
I don't really use the Steam controller a lot. Like it wasn't necessarily like this revolutionary controller for me, but the haptic feedback in it was really, really nice.
I try to use it whenever sorry, go ahead.
No, it was just really nice, and I can just remember some very good game experiences using it. So I think that it's kind of the way to go.
I actually use that controller whenever I use my Steam Link because it's the only, like, I don't like Bluetoothing it seems like anytime I Bluetooth the Xbox or PS4 controller to another device that isn't one of those things, it like never works with the original device again until I like
such a pain.
wipe the firmware or whatever. So anyway, to avoid that, as long as it's not a Twitch like need the right stick kind of game, which I don't usually play on the Steam Link anyway. I usually play like walking simmy type games because my partner and I sit together and play those. For those games, I use the Steam controller because it feels really nice and I like the feedback. And then it's also an easy like wireless with a dongle kind of controller to plug into the Steam Link. So,
but yeah, so some of the stuff they've done with this, the new, which they're not calling the DualShock 5 yet. Maybe it doesn't have vibration. That's why they're not calling it DualShock. It's the haptic thing. So,
but it's the next generation of vibration.
No comment.
Don't tell my girlfriend. Let's see. So there are some interesting things though. So the haptic stuff. It uses USB-C. Thank God.
Yeah.
And interestingly, you can use it to play through, like using the USB-C connection, which has been like a criticism from, I believe, fighting game players, saying like Bluetooth thing is just not good for it because like there's enough latency.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice for them. Because like some people like Sonic Fox play on a gamepad and not a fighting stick. Larger battery and resistance in the controller, like self-adjusting resistance, which doesn't the Xbox One have that for like some racing games and stuff? Or is that, no, they just have rumble in the
trigger. So they have feedback in the trigger that is, it's not really resistance, but it feels like it.
It like rumbles a bit, doesn't it?
Like when you play Forza and you lock your brakes up, it feels like it's pushing back against you. I think all it really is a motor vibrating in it.
Yeah.
But in the moment, because of like, it does something to your brain where you're like thinking it's pushing back, it works. It feels good.
Yeah.
It's not like,
I've never heard anyone talk about it outside of like the launch of the Xbox One.
Which is funny because it's really cool. I think it's great. Like I love the way that it feels when like if you play a shooter, like if you play like in Ghost Recon, when I scope and snipe someone, you get like a shot of rumble in the trigger and it like feels a little bit like recoil. So it's a really cool thing. I think that trigger feedback and vibration should be a thing that happens more in controllers going forward. And if it's actually resistance in the PlayStation controller, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to hearing more news about those controllers. The SSD stuff, they kind of talked about what that could possibly do, possibly cutting down on game install sizes because they don't have to duplicate as much data in the install directories, and maybe changing the way we like get into games. Like you can just like browse a multiplayer hopper from like the main UI of the system is kind of what they're pitching as like one way it could be used.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be really cool, but also this sounds so much to me like their way of kind of being like, see, we couldn't do this on a PS4. We just couldn't. We couldn't do this on no.
Have you used the PS4 interface?
Well, no, I know, but like it sounds like a bunch of like quality of life stuff that is gonna be like nice, but also it's the same. My point is that it's similar to the way that they tried to. It's not similar, but it's sort of, I can see the parallel in language between this and the way they talked about like the PS3 in lead up to that. And then the result was, and you can't play PS2 games on it. And so I
mean, you couldn't play PS2 on most PS3s. So
I'm waiting for the other foot to drop on PS5 where it's like, all this stuff is cool, but it's not backwards compatible. And
they've already confirmed it will be though, but to what extent? Like, is it?
That's what I'm getting at. Yes. Yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see.
None of your it works every game is backwards compatible except any of the service games. Those are not.
They need to design it so that it
Destiny
stacks.
2, get out of here. Marvel's Avengers, get out of here.
They should design it so that it like stacks on top of your PS4.
Like a Sega Master, or was it the Sega
32X?
Yeah.
32. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's funny to hear the way they're talking about that SSD stuff, because it's not anything substantive, but it's also stuff that makes you go like, ooh.
Especially, because like we're not seeing what it actually is. They're like pitching stuff. But like being able to being able to install only part of a game. Like I only want the single player. I only want the multiplayer. That'll be nice because
but
depending on the hard drive size and
it has nothing to. A lot of this stuff doesn't actually have much to do with the fact that it's an SSD.
No, but
that'll be improvements.
The things that they've shown, like the video that came out with the Spider-Man, whatever, it was showing that like you can have an SSD in a PlayStation 4 and you'll get better load times, but this
they're
is
not designed to utilize them really. Yeah,
this is like adding whole different like threads almost to actually like make it as efficient as possible.
I heard at some point Sony talking about like using virtual RAM from the SSD to improve like cache time, like cache size or something like that. I don't remember, but there was something about like the SSD, not just there's potential for it to improve performance beyond just load times. Which would be cool.
Yeah. And they're saying it's I can't remember if it's I saw somewhere that I believe it's an 8-core processor, like an 8-core Ryzen.
I'm not sure.
That could be. And
if it's Ryzen based, and they were talking about this on the Giant Bombcast, but maybe does that mean they're working with like an M.4 or M.2 like PCI 4 drive, which has like obscene like transfer speeds?
Really fast transfer speeds.
I just think
interesting.
That would be really expensive. And I don't know. I don't think they could do that.
I think it's just funny. The SSD stuff is that both Sony and Microsoft are doing. Like it totally has benefits. I just think it's funny because like I played some Skyrim this week, also from a really cool total conversion mod that I'll probably play more this week and maybe talk about next week. But and like I have that installed on my SSD. I don't see load times for it. You just click a fast travel point and you go there. And like, it's really great. Don't get me wrong, but we've been doing this for a long time, and totally it's like the first time that a lot of players on console are seeing it. But a lot of the first adopters that are going to be buying this thing on launch day know how SSDs work. So it's,
but I think there are plenty of people who are going to be there on launch day are not like PC players.
I just don't know how many of them are reading Wired stories to get nitty gritty details.
I think there is a hard. More people play only on console than play on PC and console. I think.
Yeah, that's not. I guess what I'm getting at is
and like who seriously play on console and like would be interested in this stuff.
Yeah,
maybe
I
not.
probably just have a warped perception. The perception I have is that a lot of the people who are super enthusiast about this stuff understand how SSDs work. So it's interesting that they're like they're spending so much time on that. I just both companies again. It's just funny that like I think they could have just said, "Hey, it's got an SSD. It's going to lead to some cool performance stuff and really fast load times." Done.
Yeah,
like that to me is the extent of that conversation. And it seems like they're spending a lot of air. Like that Microsoft conference when they were talking about Scarlett, they spent so much time talking about like SSD. And it's just
I knew it was going to be something like that.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, there's just a lot of PR words. Like if you look at the Wired article, there's like this whole not paragraph.
That's what I mean.
There's a whole big section about how the GPU can be used for machine learning, and that means nothing. Like that literally means nothing. So like there is definitely a lot of stuff you have to parse through and be like, does this actually mean anything? Because like this SSD thing from the demo wasn't a demo, but the thing that leaked did look good, but like it doesn't really translate to it'll have an SSD. Like
it's
I don't know.
We'll see.
I'll say in our chat I was pretty lukewarm on all this news.
I'm relatively lukewarm on it.
Yeah, like it's kind of everything we expected, and it seems very iterative on the current generation. Whereas it seems like Microsoft is aiming for doing something completely different with xCloud, even though one could argue that like the PlayStation
Sony's been doing PlayStation Now for a while,
yeah.
and like, you know, whether the quality of that has been there or not, they've been working on it. They're presumably working on improving it. They did that price cut we talked about,
but it's the quality is fine. I think it's more the ethos behind what the service is. Like I keep saying, and every time it comes up, I played Red Dead on PS Now last year, and it was fine. It played great. I didn't notice any latency that was affecting gameplay at all.
Yeah, now it seems like they're actually taking like the competition seriously with that stuff, like reducing the price point by like half.
Yeah. And honestly, if I could see signing up for that service if a year from now it becomes clear that it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to buy a PS5, I mean, they're not going to do this, but if you don't want to buy a PS5 and you have a PC then you can stream PS5 games to it. I would consider that. Like Stadia would work for me as a constant. This is how you play all your games. But if I could say, okay, I'm going to use X amount of my data this month to play this game streaming, and sign up for a monthly service like that, where I feel like I don't have the same investment, you know.
I mean, if there's a PlayStation app that I can download on my Switch, I'd be into that.
No, that's never going to happen.
I know it's never going to happen.
It won't, but that would be great.
But
like
I feel like
PS Now on PC, but I don't think it'll have new.
You can do it on your phone now too. I think you can at least stream. You can do remote play to your phone. But I think you can do PlayStation Now. Maybe
you can.
You can do PlayStation Now to your phone.
I believe. Well, I don't know if it's PlayStation Now directly.
It doesn't work over Wi-Fi, but
it might just be remote play that you can access PlayStation Now. Play. But I could totally see there being an Xbox app on the Switch, given their recent relationships, though.
That should happen.
That's more what I'm getting at, is because I think Sony is being a bit of a dinosaur with regards to like how they're treating
competition.
An important thing too, we don't have to go deep on it, but it speaks to what you're talking about, Alex, with the way that Xbox and Microsoft is going forward. People should keep an eye out on this Microsoft Flight Simulator thing, because it is, even if you don't care about sim games, they have over 2 petabytes of satellite and AI built data that was done through Azure and Bing Maps data. So essentially what they've done is created a height map of the entire planet with accurate textures and visuals. If you should look up Microsoft Flight Simulator video. It is stunning. It seems super cool. It's insane. They've modeled the entire planet in VFR, which is visual flight rules. So you can fly by eye anywhere in the world. They've modeled tiny villages in South America all the way up to, if you look at their recreation of Manhattan, it looks almost as good visually as like Spider-Man from an aerial shot, of course. Obviously, if you went down to the street, it wouldn't. But it, like, the buildings look real and the water looks incredible and everything. And part of the way that they're able to do that is they are streaming assets from that game to you while you play. And that is tied into they're not using the word xCloud with it, but obviously like Azure is streaming xCloud, just like it's streaming a lot of this data for Microsoft Flight Simulator to you while you're playing, so that you don't have to download a 2 petabyte game. It's
for sure.
That stuff is like what that could mean for the future of, like, it feels like with how good, even at the ground level, Microsoft Flight Simulator looks, it wouldn't be long until you could be playing an open world RPG in a scale version of a real city using similar rendering technology, just applied to a smaller area.
Or you could be playing The Division in a real version of New York.
That's what I mean. Yeah. You could be playing, oh my God, Alex,
into like 6 city blocks.
Madness. Please bring back Midtown Madness with Bing and the Azure cloud data.
Crazy Taxi.
No, just Midtown Madness.
Crazy Taxi. Real San Francisco.
How about Motocross Madness?
Sure, yeah, because I mean it does mountains and stuff too, and
Okay.
Bring back them things.
Okay. One more piece of Sony news is the PlayStation VR 2 patent kind of leaked. The same people who kind of uncovered the PlayStation 5 dev kit patent, the weird box with the big fins on the top cut out, like in a V cutout.
God, ugly as hell.
turns out is actually the dev kit for the PS5, which was confirmed. They have also uncovered a patent that was filed back in like February for a wireless headset for the PSVR that's got like cameras mounted on it, 2 on the front, 1 on the back, and transmits data via Bluetooth to the console. There's no like official word on this, but maybe that's what they're going for the next PlayStation VR. It'll be interesting to see if that pans out. There's like a camera on the Move controller as well. So who knows if like as soon as you remove like you've got the Oculus Quest, as soon as you remove like the cable from that, like VR becomes so much more promising. And
as soon as you said the PlayStation Move controller, I keep forgetting it exists.
Sorry to bring that.
No, it's fine.
To remind you.
It's fine. It's just a bit of existential crisis. I'm like, wait, oh right.
There's a whole part of gaming
I
that I
did
forgot
that too,
existed.
and I own 2 of them because I have PSVR, and I'm still like, what? Oh wait, that's a thing I have.
I gotta say, like, people should buy an Oculus Quest and not a PSVR.
I'm honestly
Depends on what is going on with the PSVR 2. Like at this point, yeah, but who knows? Like,
Could be, yeah. I don't see how you could get better than.
If you've got a PS5 and you don't have
if you don't have a gaming PC
that you could plug your Quest into whenever that becomes available. But once that becomes a thing, I'd be interested in checking out an Oculus Quest.
We also need to see if the Quest, if what it means is you can literally like, can I buy a game on Steam today that is Oculus compatible and then plug my Quest in 6 months and then it just works? Or is it like,
that would be the hope.
You would hope, but who knows if it's going to really work that well. That said, everything about the Oculus Quest so far has been, I don't think it's going to work as well as they say, and then it does. So
I'm really curious about that hand tracking stuff.
Try
that. I was seeing some reviews for it's like Asgard's Wrath or something. Is like a
I've
RPG, but it's on like the Rift S or the regular Rift. But they're saying it's like a 20+ hour game and it's really good.
Cool.
Like I saw someone. Yeah, someone gave it like a 9 out of 10. I don't remember which publication, but everyone's like, this game is awesome.
I'll look forward to hopefully playing that with my Quest in. Wow, this looks great. Yeah, I hadn't even heard about this. Look forward to playing this hopefully with my Quest when you can plug it into a PC.
Yeah. So last thing about Sony is the same day that they did this whole PS5 shenanigans, they laid off dozens, quote unquote, dozens of employees for redundancy. Some people had to like reapply for their jobs or re-interview for their jobs. It's just like, come on, guys.
Really good look to announce the future of your company and how you're going to make a shit ton of money on this new thing and then lay a bunch of people off.
And like a lot of the people they let off were like PR people. That seems to be the thing they most need right now. It is just, I don't know. There's a lot
Sony's weird.
There's a lot of questions around Sony right now from like Sean Layden just like suddenly leaving with no like kind of like, oh, and here's like what's going to go on. I still don't think Sean has said anything. His Twitter has always been pretty quiet. He only pipes up every once in a while, but still odd that he didn't say anything. Whole weird situation over at Sony.
Yeah, I just feel like Sony doesn't have a figurehead right now. Like, sure, there's Jack Ryan, but like, I don't see him as a figurehead.
I don't think they want to have a figurehead.
They just bring back
Jim Ryan, not Jack Ryan.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Jim Ryan. Jack Ryan is no longer president of the United States. Now he's head of Sony.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, but like, if they could just bring back Kaz Hirai, I would be totally into it because Kaz is like.
And so you just want Kaz, so they'll put out Ridge Racer on the PlayStation 5.
Exactly.
It would increase my desire to purchase a PlayStation 5 if they put out a Ridge Racer on it. I'll say right now.
Imagine how giant the enemy crabs could be.
Where has Shuhei been? He just like
Yeah,
he retweets some stuff. He's asking for more levels in Grindstone.
He's clearly still alive. It's just I don't see him talking about.
I think Sony doesn't want anybody like in front. Like that really seems like the approach they're taking. They don't want anyone on the stage like being the face of the company is really how it seems
bad.
So weird because like look at Microsoft right now.
Oh yeah.
I would lay my life on the line for Phil Spencer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah, no. Even when Sony had like cool people, it always seemed like they were cagey about. And I'm sure there are still cool people at Sony, but like when they had people who were more in like those front-facing roles, it still seemed like they've been pretty cagey about like having those people do like fun things.
I know Jack Tretton seemed like he'd murder a man.
Oh, Jack was great. I was a
Jack man. Like you look at like I don't know, kind of using the giant bomb couch as a metric, like as like a bar, like. You get like, you get a lot of like high up Xbox people there. Like same thing with Nintendo. Like you don't get a lot of people from Nintendo doing stuff like that. Like they do like the buttoned up, like, oh, we're going to show our game demo. And then like Sony seems like kind of the same thing, but nobody like criticizes Nintendo for it because they've got likable people out in front.
At least Nintendo's got the Treehouse streams.
Yeah, they've got the Treehouse streams. And like when they do their directs, usually they at least have a person or two in there to like, say a few words.
Oh yeah, and they
voice or something.
They had the whole like
Sony has a voice, but it's so disconnected.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, like I mean, they had a sense of humor because like I mean, Sony did have a sense of humor with their stupid like, oh, you can play used games here, hand it to your friend thing with what was that, Shuhei and Adam Boyes. But like,
I feel like Adam Boyes and Shuhei's relationship, like even like losing Adam and John Drake was kind of it shifted a little bit the way that they. I mean, not that those dudes were in front of the camera all the time, but it shifted the way that their presence was in like a PR marketing space.
I mean, Adam was early on in the PS4 days, but he was. John Drake was more just behind the scenes, like doing developer relations.
I feel like he was influencing the tone of the way that the conversation went. I mean, if he
came in kind of late,
I don't know. I feel like
mid-generation.
I feel like they stopped being fun after the two of those guys left.
I think they stopped being fun after Adam left, and like John was there for a while. He just left, and Sony's been not fun for a little while.
True.
Yeah.
Just get Matt Kessler on stage.
Toasty. Like that would be a legendary E3 or like PlayStation 5 reveal. Is just please welcome to the stage Matt Kessler.
And he walks out with a letter in his hand.
And then he just roasts Dave Lang for the entire presentation.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Well, that's the
Speaking
Sony...
of Dave Lang.
What?
Because Iron Galaxy's doing the port of the...
okay. I did not know that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Iron Galaxy, as far as I know, is doing.
Oh, so you're saying this is all Dave Lang's fault?
Yeah, Dave Lang.
This whole situation we're about to discuss.
Wait, before we get into crappy stuff, Reggie was admitted to the Video Game Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
For a Lifetime Achievement Award, which I think is pretty great.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah. If anyone, I can't think of many other. There are other people who should get that, but I can't think of that many other people who, in like a marketing like president kind of role, that should get that more than him.
Yeah, totally. He kind of revitalized Nintendo in a really needed way, especially in North America.
And even since he left, he's already like he's been so fun to follow and said a lot of stuff. And
totally. He didn't have a Twitter before.
No.
Yeah, which is like kind of what we were saying. Like, Nintendo doesn't really have like people who are out there. They're just kind of like, they're in a video and you'll get like interviews, but that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get like them being fun or like personable, really, which is interesting.
I mean, Doug Bowser's on Twitter, but
okay. Maybe it's just Reggie's person. I don't know. I'm just, throwing ideas out there, but our next news story is, I don't know how you could miss it. It's been everywhere. It's
Oh.
been in the New York Times. It's been on NPR. It's been on all the gaming sites. It's been on Twitter. Everybody is angry at Blizzard.
Yep.
I mean,
Whether-
yeah, it bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of stuff. If we really wanted to dive into the story, there's a ton of context we should give, but that would take hours.
Yeah, I think we
So
should.
let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can do what that's kind of outside of the scope of what
Yes.
this podcast, but what is this story, the down and dirty of this story? Someone please, I know, but I don't know the details, right?
I think we can. Yeah, I mean, there was a major Hearthstone tournament the last weekend, and Blitzchung, the player that ultimately won.
This was in China, I guess.
So he's from Hong Kong. As far as I know, it was a remote tournament. It was not a LAN.
Okay.
So like he had a webcam on him, and then the desk folks had a webcam on them. And he is from Hong Kong. And they were interviewing Blitzchung after the tournament, and one of the things, I don't remember the exact quote. I don't know if you have it in front of you, Alex.
Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the casters hid under the desk when he said it. And then on Monday, they announced that they were pulling his tournament winnings, banning him for 6 months from playing the game professionally, and firing the casters that were on the desk.
Well, it was originally that he was going to be banned for a full year.
A full year. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Today they have changed. First Friday.
Last night. Yeah. He has said multiple times he's not going to play Hearthstone again.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, honestly, can't blame him. Yeah, so it doesn't change anything.
But he would ever want to play your trash ass game again.
When he could move to a new card game. Because there are no other digital card games.
Hearthstone's like the worst one now, too. Sorry to Hearthstone fans out there, but
yeah, like the whole situation is just insane.
So this ties into the thing that we can't get into, because
if we want to talk about the situation in Hong Kong right now, it would be
how long there have been protests going
months.
For how long now? Months.
Yeah, for months.
It's been a contentious situation for a while.
And I will say, I don't think it's our responsibility, or really even our right to get into explain them, but you do, I think, have a responsibility as an adult to go and read about that stuff, because it is an extremely important world news topic, and getting educated on it is really important to global politics, specifically to human rights in China. And you should also try to read about some of the other human rights violations that China is committing to certain Muslim populations. There's a lot of stuff that is important to get a handle on and understand. Yep. And I think it's a unique topic for anyone in the United States. I think it's a unique topic because it is one of the very few things that exists in the world right now that, for the most part, I think we can kind of look across party lines a little bit and see problematic stuff, regardless of what your opinions on current politics are. With that said, it's important to note too, some of the authoritarian shit that is happening in China is also happening in the United States because of our current administration. So I'm not suggesting that Americans get on a soapbox about it either.
One thing to note about all of this, specifically with China, I can't speak to America. I'm not American, but
you're not Chinese either.
No, I am also not Chinese. But one of the biggest issues that has come across with the current administration is just rampant censorship, which is actually largely what this is turning into. Absolutely. Is because Blizzard is an American company that is giving into the current Xi's censorship.
Yes. And so one of the things, there has been a lot of backlash in the last week about this to Blizzard, people deleting accounts, canceling subscriptions, with, to WoW and things like that. And
I deleted Hearthstone off of every device I have because I'm like, I can't in a good conscience support this anymore.
There's also a push right now for people to create fan art of May using.
So I was going to get into that.
Okay. Yeah, you can share that.
So So on Friday, just yesterday, they released a statement saying, like, the president of Blizzard put out a thing basically doubling down on what they did, but saying like, oh well, we're gonna, maybe the punishment was too much, we're gonna give the winnings back, or we're gonna give them their winnings, even though they said they were gonna withhold the winnings because of this. And
I believe they also
reduced the suspension to 6 months instead of a year for.
I believe he
and,
also blatantly said it had nothing to do with China.
Yes, so it had nothing to do with China. When the Chinese branch of Blizzard on Weibo, which is a Chinese social media site, in a message says, "We will protect the party or defend the honor of the party." I can't remember the exact quote, but it was very
the honor of China, I think,
it was very like
maybe it's the honor of the country. Maybe it was very much like, this is a very much like a it's about China thing. And yeah, so it's, who knows, like we don't know if it was like the Chinese branch of Blizzard who was like having to do this, or the American branch of Blizzard, but it's like it's a big corporation. The American branch is like the main branch, and their messaging on it has mainly come out of this American branch. So I don't know.
And there's an extent of this that is like, it doesn't particularly, like, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's coming out of the Chinese branch or the American branch too, because like either way, they're infringing on the free speech rights of the player. And it's definitely sticky to get into opinions on the politics of it. I don't think it's that personally. I have pretty strong convictions about where I lie personally, but I understand that as maybe a corporate entity, they don't feel like they have the right to comment on politics in China and Hong Kong, but we're talking about a pretty cut and dry case of free speech. Yeah. It's not really like the chestnut that people are wheeling out that I've seen. I mean, almost no one is defending them, but in the rare instances where I've seen it, it's like, well, would you say the same thing if the person had said like, "Make America Great Again, Trump 2020"? And my response would be like, yeah, I don't think they should get banned from the game and have their prize money pulled.
Just go back. That person sucks.
Yeah. I think it's very easy for Blizzard to say like, the opinions of people who are playing in these games are their own. I mean, it's kind of like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like it's not, I don't see how this is necessarily like there's all the, I feel like in the statement, they're saying stuff like, oh, well, since they represent us, it's like, well, it's not like you're like an official Blizzard employee who's using your capacity as a Blizzard employee to say pro Hong Kong messaging. It's like, this is somebody who is clearly playing in a Blizzard game, but not necessarily like speaking for Blizzard. So it's just bizarre, I think.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I think, and the way that they talk about it as a political statement is like, can be frustrating too, because it's kind of, this is there's enough weight behind this that it's a bigger thing than like a US election or something like that. Like, it's so important that it's the sort of thing where you kind of should give them leeway, even if it is in violation of your policy. Because we're talking about like, can you like imagine if it was something relating to the US and someone said something and it was a sentiment that was carried very heavily in the US or something overwhelmingly. Would they make the same decision? Maybe, I don't know. And so it's frustrating that it very much feels like it is just profit minded. It is just about business in China, because it's, I would guess their biggest market at this point. I don't know. Maybe there's still a larger market in the US, but there's
a lot of people in China.
Yes, exactly. I would think that they make more money there than they do here.
And so people have been, because China is so heavy on the censorship, you were alluding to it and tried to mention it, is people have been turning Mei, the Chinese character from Overwatch, into a pro, like, liberate Hong Kong meme icon kind of thing. Yeah,
which has been great.
And they part of the point is to get them to ban Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And to hurt Blizzard's bottom line, but get them to ban Overwatch. And it, they because China does censor stuff like that. It's like like Winnie the Pooh gets censored from like screenshots of Kingdom Hearts because people compare the president to Winnie the Pooh. Like they say, oh, he looks like Winnie the Pooh, and
which is such a strange thing in the first place because
it's a very authoritarian, like, oh, I don't like this and it can't be done.
And I don't remember if you pointed it out, Alex, or if I saw it independently, but it's interesting too. Currently, their Call of Duty mobile game is in the certification process in China to be released there. And it's interesting timing wise that all of this stuff comes out as Call of Duty Mobile is waiting in the wings to be approved for their audience, because that game is going to make them millions and millions of dollars.
For those who are unaware why that is relevant, Activision, makers of Call of Duty, and Blizzard are one entity. Blizzard.
Blizzard.
I think if you look a little bit at some of Bobby Kodak's history, perhaps outside of what we maybe would have looked at before a couple of years ago, there's some interesting stuff there that kind of shows that I don't think that dude really gives a shit about anything. Related to human rights or
But no matter what, I think this past week has been a really interesting inflection point for everything regarding the Hong Kong protests. Between the South Park episode being banned in China and people being banned from China for liking the South Park episode, specifically like Zed the DJ being banned. But when I don't know if you saw that, he liked to tweet about the South Park thing, so China banned him. But something I do want to say, like, yes, I agree with all the protests. That I think like the efforts that are going on in Hong Kong right now are extremely important. But something, I also have a few friends who work at Blizzard, and they've been talking about how they've been getting harassed on the streets, and these are just everyday programmers or artists or whatever. And I think people still do have to note the individuals of Blizzard, the citizens of China, they might not all share these same beliefs that the corporate entities do. Definitely. And I think I just want to encourage people to not demonize Chinese citizens, not demonize Blizzard employees, Activision employees. Right. This is all talking administrative, high level, really insane things that are going on.
It is. And obviously I don't believe in harassing employees of a company for things like this, full stop. Like there's no caveat or exception to that. I will say, I think an important thing is if you as someone who is American and dealing with our own political struggles, if you are a professional who has the ability to sort of speak up in your workplace and push towards maybe finding work somewhere else, that kind of thing. Not everyone has that mobility or ability at all. So I'm not suggesting that you must quit your job, but I would encourage people to, it's a really touchy subject. You should never harass someone, but I also think saying, hey, I just work at Blizzard. There's a certain amount of like, we're hitting a point in the United States in particular right now where there's a lot of across the board, there's a lot of hand washing that happens because people say, well, I just work at the insurance company. It's not my fault that you can't get X medication and stuff like that. And while that's true, the fact that people are held in those positions and kind of suppressed is part of why things continue to get worse. So I think just across the globe, we should look at the best thing to do is to look at Hong Kong as an example of like, these people are sacrificing a lot for their rights, and we should do what we can, whether it's not buy a Blizzard game or whether it's, more donate money or whatever you can. And harassing people is never the answer, but also, try to do something too.
I bet Bungie is real happy that they are not part of that whole situation anymore right now. Going back to Destiny 2 and that launch. It'll be interesting to see what happens in like 2 weeks or so at BlizzCon.
Yeah, there's a protest plan, an umbrella protest plan there, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, this is gonna be a
I think there's also
maybe a buy a digital ticket just to watch.
Oh God,
I don't think you'll need to buy
don't do that.
The good stuff. I think there's also been an interesting angle to this. Tim Sweeney was kind of out there talking about how he would never, like Epic would never do the same thing, would never, violate someone's right to free speech. They were like a professional Fortnite player, which is relevant because Epic is 40% owned by Tencent, which is almost an extension of the Chinese government, frankly.
Kind of, yes.
I believe the biggest corporation in China. That could be incorrect, but
maybe the biggest in the world at this point.
Yeah, certainly up there. Yeah,
they might be the biggest in the world, and they are very much sort of an enforcement arm of the government in a lot of ways in the entertainment space. So for Sweeney to say that is pretty bold. I don't know. It's easy to say that when
it's also it's a foolish thing to do.
Is it? I don't know.
I can't remember the exact wording, but it just becomes a point where it's like there's a point where you have to like step on what people are saying and be like, yo, no. And maybe that's, maybe what he said was room for that. But like,
yeah, no, I don't think it was necessarily saying like you can say anything you want. It was just he made it clear that he wouldn't let their business interest in China dictate how they moderate their events and the people playing their games. And people pressed him on it. One thing I have mixed feelings on Tim Sweeney as a person, but
what his rap battle on Twitter didn't win him over.
But I give him a lot of credit. One thing he's good at is when he's on Twitter and people reply to him, he actually does a pretty good job of trying to engage and respond back. And so some people were like pressing him like, so you're saying that your relationship with Tencent, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yes, I am the majority owner in Epic. I'm not concerned about our partners. We will do what the right thing when it comes to protecting players' rights to speak. So, and that's been a sentiment that's come out through other companies as well. I know Hi-Rez released a similar statement. And there's been a few other card games kind of trying to court Blitzchung. And I'm sure that's profit-minded and trying to buy in on the controversy a little bit. But they also have said, good stuff about how they don't believe in taking those kinds of actions. So,
and it should be noted, some companies are actually doubling down the other way as well. League of Legends. I don't know if you saw the statement that came out from that.
No political speech.
Yeah, they're not. They're like we have reminded our casters and pro players to refrain from discussing any of these topics on air.
Shocking.
They've got. I think. Oh, where is Worlds this year? I think it might be in China.
Shocking. Riot Games, really? They would do something like this? I thought the culture was changing there.
So like. I'm really glad to hear that Epic is going that way, Hi-Rez is going that way, and like people are actively like making a point to come out and say, yes, we have these beliefs, but it's also kind of concerning to see the other side of things coming up too.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's a wider. It's also there are U.S. senators talking about this issue.
Yeah,
they only ever dip into video games otherwise to like blame them for gun violence and stuff.
Like it's across the board. It's been like you've got left and right leaning people coming at this from the same direction. And Waypoint kind of talked about this a lot on their Friday podcast, where like. You have to kind of look at like the reasoning behind some of these people.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And they're, Marco Rubio is probably, saying, coming out and saying stuff about this for different reasons than you or I are interested or saying things about this.
Yeah, potentially. I think that there is a genuine sentiment from some of these people. And I mean, people who know me at all know that I fucking hate Marco Rubio. So don't get it twisted, but there's a I think to some extent that this also shows to me that while I'm sure there are differing motivations for some people, there are also still some things that we can agree are not okay. And I do think that like free speech is one of we can argue about like where the line is on free speech. Obviously, I don't think that like freedom of speech means that you should be able to go on Twitter and be a Nazi. But I think that like I don't know. I think that there's one of the things that's been a little refreshing, a kind of bright spot in how dark all of this is seeing something that kind of is bigger than the political issues that we're experiencing here between left and right. Does it mean that I am going to go buy Marco Rubio coffee and have a nice conversation with him? No, no. But it is helpful to see that there's still something on an extreme end that we can kind of agree on.
Well, on that note,
good luck to Blitzchung and all the people of Hong Kong, and everyone who's got a revolution that they're hoping, and maybe not everyone who has a revolution they're hoping to start. I bet some of those people are not so good.
That's a big blanket statement.
Probably some bad revolutions that I don't know about happening in the world right now.
Yeah, I'm playing AI, Al Borland, the Somium files. I don't know. There's some like secret society stuff that I'm. Well, that is going to do it for this episode 19, 90, 92, 91. Where are we?
91.
20.
It's 1:15 in the morning for me. Episode 91. Thanks for joining me, everybody. You can find me, Andre Cole. I don't even know if I said my name at the beginning. I don't know. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex, where can people find you?
Reminiscing about episode 19.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a fine vintage. Allison, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. And also same username for Instagram. And I mentioned that only because I saw Lizzo last night and took some pictures. And
did you see that Goose Game trailer cut to Juice?
I did. It's very good.
Pat, where can people find you?
Find me at PJC Plays.
And you can, once again, you can find our game reviews, some news stories going up on fix.space, all the hottest news, only the most important things that you need to know about, nothing else. Galarian, I don't know how you say that. The ponytail that looks like cotton candy.
Yep.
In high school, there was this moment. There's oh, change your profile picture to your favorite Pokemon week or some shit. And I like Rapidash. Rapidash is cool. It's like a fire unicorn. And I changed my picture to Rapidash. And then some girl was like, "That's girly. You can't like Rapidash." And I was hurt and embarrassed. So then I had to change my favorite Pokemon to Arcanine.
No, man, you do you.
That's terrible. Yeah.
If you like Rapidash, like Rapidash, man.
Well, where were you when I was in high school? Being bullied for my choice of preferred Pokemon. The fuck, Bridget?
I don't know.
Calling you out.
I don't know what my favorite Pokemon is. I haven't thought about it enough, but it would definitely not be one of the manly ones.
Not Mankey.
No.
Trubbish.
Machoke.
I love that garbage Pokemon.
Machoke,
it might be
Daddy.
Coughing, actually, which is kind of a
Coughing is legit, though.
Yeah. Coughing's up there.
Coughing.
All right.
Okay. Before we go, I want you all to give me your best Pokemon impersonation.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I'll give you 5 seconds to consider.
Oh, God.
I can't. I don't have a.
4.
Suddenly, all the Pokemon have left my brain.
1.
Wait, are we doing it all at once?
2. No. We're gonna go in a row. Alex, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Fuck it.
Okay.
Corp.
This is Magikarp. Okay, that's good. It's Allison.
I'll just do the good old standard Pikachu.
Okay. Pat.
I think it's gotta be Squirtle.
Oh, that's a good Squirtle.
That sounds like a Pat. You smoke a pack a day.
Yeah.
We all know Squirtle.
As we all know, all
Squad is
Squirtle
so
are
good.
very heavy smokers.
Word.
Squirtle Squad for life. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Man, Squirtle Squad would totally be part of Vape Nation.
And they'd be getting black market flavored e-liquids. Fuck the CDC.
Then they get lung disease and they die. What the fuck, guys?
Yep.
Hey,
The Squirrel Squad's got popcorn lung, y'all.
definitely.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.